Can you hear me? Okay.
And here's some little pachame.
River.
Gomusayam, the nonsense. This job would do now.
Raphael.
You get up a yes.
Okay. Don't worry. Wait. Is it raining? Okay. Hope the light stays. Hola, so. Sanje choda soje chodamda chanjo pado dane japso che da ye jinso gebe Rola benje sanje drupara sho sanje choda soje chodamda chanjo pado dane jap da ye jinso gebe sonamje rola benje sanje drupara sho sanje choda soje chodamda chanjo pado na jinso gebe sonamje rola benje sanje drupara sho in English.
The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Bodhisattva take refuge in cultivating enlightenment. The virtuous merit I create by practicing giving and perfections, I take wisdom for the benefit of all sentient beings.
동년인지 손도 주고는 제에서 간제 된적은 천하배모 된진자는 소원도 소신도 한도 주 남자 손으로는 따위 계산 더블을 주고 주제베 주베 도견자와 예신제 신이 주어다 차체로 I think we need to close the door. That looks like the Kazandi. Did you turn out on it? Do you check that? 75 or 75. Did you turn out there? Hardly seem to jump a gavalla. Dang base, gavalla, don't wish about them. Bedouin Java was of Tatine. Do you turn out the genial leisure or ne? Tamjelane 2 years. Tedder Payet, Tam Tended, Danin, Dang a young Charles. That do you turn out the jiggy song should that can song Shantideva?
Yeah, lovely. So just going back, there are a couple of verses I want to just cover back in chapter 7, at the end of chapter 7, verses 70. So verse 75, and the outline of the text, Gyaltsab Je's commentary, so it talks about empowering ourselves in terms of practicing or engaging in these forms of conduct. That's the principal subject, principal outline, and then by generating physical and mental pliancy to engage in virtue, and then the last part of the outline is to join an example with its deeper meaning. And so the verse reads, the verse number 75 reads, in order to have strength for everything, I should recall before undertaking any action the advice in the chapter on conscientiousness, and then joyfully rise to the task. So rising to virtue, having created a physical and mental pliancy, arising to the task of developing virtue, or practicing virtue.
Lusim Shindu Jango. Penang Ranzu the Nangshakin to come Yabuch Jabtu maybe comes Hendelia Nelia Kom Jasiki Migwaro Chana 미고 텔리 때니 아니 수술이야 심려야 소화 된다고요 말해. 근데 초안 능인지 차차비 빼는 수술 땅 알아보지 샤비는 아래 잡을라마 야와람치 야와람치 그돈 숨겨 먹고 쉬지 숨겨 먹고 쉬는데 경고를 치 야와람치 지 천지 거다 는 셈나도야 지기 랑신기다 말이야 아니 짬매비 짬 그러면 거 아니 지기 동네 다 지기 동네시에기 아니 지기 내가 랑시스 유어가 됐다 라마 될 때는 얘기다 셴버지 용도 어떤 저기 라마 쓰도 정도 그저 지금 선나 초화시게 얘네 초화의 양의 양 직접 기되지기 초화의 양의 양도 기울을 생기고 말 맞이고 이런 발전시나 로티 주죠 콤바디 콤치 말은 때한데 큐즈 모두 지고요 말 재산과 고만 좀 맞으면 따라하고 지도 셈나 양내 양도 돼 되게 거진 돼야지 용용지 중에도 되게 연된 돼야 많고 연된 된다는데 재산과 수수고 셈나도야 아니 지게 인샤 주지에 대한 영어 계단 컨디지 영어기 갑대 자간 그래서 자고도 시제 아니 신이 지게 영어들이야 님부 된다는 게 하려면 내가 시기보다 하고 용도 그냥 영어 그저 다 먹어봐 영어 냠도 대비나요 영어 상황은 좀 먹어도 차야 돼 그러니까 라마디거든 스텝도 잡고 신의 라마디 미비 타바지 아니 라마디를 아니 가장 좀 공개 미gen서 다 대차사 다든지 미gen 되를 때니 아니 루심 신장이 대와세 다 신의 그게 미유디 가르스나 아니 디곰제를 걸려야 시스템을 깔려면다 류를 깔려면 다들 가르스는 류 신도 장외 아니 신도 따라 양와서 그러면 저기
거기 올라지
아니 샘신도 장고 가수 이 강나야 또 신여바샤 되비나야 균튼토야디 류 가자 샘기 아니 대화치 어디지기다 용발라스 다 자잔다는 디나로 송야디 예장아 덴디지 용발라 아니 진이진 계획을 제가 어른인 계획을 탐지 라니 투준주주 또여가 대다체를 쳐도 과유 단다 저와드는 송이 과유에서도 과유 된수주 땀 템퍼처디 보다 나를 송셔주디 과유 리우고도 쓰기요마다 단다 아주 준주기 리우고도 송셔줘 저기 가베야 과유 된다면 그 송요래 대조 템퍼처디 아니 디니 기회 차와라 차와라 레라 년시기 찬나다 제된 당화쳐보 깔리 용구데 깔리 디카네 커린 초시 아주 마소네 디벨레 제베가블라 아란줄레 내가 쇼미료든지 제베가블야 지 깔리 유네야 고깔리도 싸워니라고요 말 그래봐 당연히 미유 친구들이 주도에 가블라 깔리기는 깔리도 스케자고 이렇게 모두었어 제장관님 지금 천하단 최대 당황시도 정도 셈디 야 망마차 셈디나 심주 차대 당황체 드리지 고요레스 다 디조디 단다 준주당 something 이거로 참전이 중요해
So what I'd like to do is sort of join these two chapters, these verses here in verse 75 and 76, is a way of joining up and making a connection between the chapter on joyous effort, chapter number 7, and then chapter number 8 on meditative absorption. And so in this verse, if we look, first of all, if we look in the outline of the commentary, where it talks about how we joyfully rise to the task of performing virtue through the kind of operation of physical and mental pliancy, and then we take that sort of as outline, and then sort of apply that to the way in which, you know, our kind of normal way in which we meditate, and look at the reasons why we're not normally able to sort of have very effective meditation. And I think that the principal kind of difficulty that we face is although we may be able to, in some sense, focus on the focal object of our contemplation or meditation, but there's some way in which there's no kind of real feeling towards it. And I can give you an example of this from my own practice. My root Lama is, of course, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I've sat at his feet and taken many teachings and instructions from him. And you know, when I hear, to some extent, when I hear his name, I have this feeling like I'm not unprotected, that I have a protector. I'm not unguided, I have a guide. And there's a sort of, you know, a kind of the strong feeling can sometimes arise, but even for someone like myself, this is not for someone like myself, this is not, it's not there all the time. It doesn't arise even in relation to someone like His Holiness. So this comes from us not being kind of cultivating familiarity, or not being accustomed to again and again, accustomed to sort of experiencing or feeling in this way. And this requires that we kind of continually remember the positive aspects and qualities, which then help to draw the mind into this kind of state. And so in the same way, if we so we need that kind of recalling of the qualities and benefits. And so if we then take that to a sort of sense of meditation, and how we and looking at our lives and how the mental afflictions arise in our lives, but then also looking at the way in which we counteract those mental afflictions, and therefore follow the path which leads us to the liberation from those mental afflictions. And also, you know, so we look at ways that they can, the path which helps us to counteract those, but of course, to some extent, we have to abide with them at some times. We have to be with them. But even if we're with the mental afflictions, or they're with us rather, then we still perhaps find a way at times to be not brought completely under their control or their sway. And so being able to sort of operate in this way, by seeing the benefits and seeing the path which leads away from those things, then this is the kind of way that our faith and that experience of feeling is developed. And so then also then looking at this verse here, which talks about in the outline, talks about this physical and mental pliancy, and in the text it's described as how when we develop these pliancies, we can feel like we can feel as light as a tiny piece of cotton, so that this allows us to so if we don't have them, then it's difficult for it's very difficult for our body and mind to remain focused and have that kind of experience, positive feeling. But if we have the pliancies, then there's no longer any of those kind of difficulties for both for body and mind. So mentally, we're able to remain kind of focused, and physically, we're able to sit for longer periods of time, more comfortably focused, and also almost a special sense of kind of mental bliss can arise when these things are with us. And in relation to this, Gyaltsab Je's commentary reads, in order to have the power of strong enthusiasm for any virtuous action beforehand, I shall remember the advice regarding conscientiousness and arise lightly in the virtuous action without the harm of negative action. So here he talks about conscientiousness, and I don't just apply that to in the previous chapter on the fourth chapter, I think it is, on conscientiousness. Then I don't mean just that chapter, and so in relating this to to conscientiousness, I don't mean just to reply to that chapter, but also throughout the text where Shantideva encourages us to be conscientious and kind of awake and conscientious, then also bringing all of those pieces of advice, and then we remember those kind of instructions and advice, and then whenever because I don't think it's got this in here. This window translation. Chikdu ta shemba chitimende dani gewe chavala lela
chawalas asha lelas
lela
any ningi tenandas ningi tenandas duta chini matube tenange dani ningi da delega de chigin samsante dubalando echo de ningi tenas tenas ne yunam yustiyoba you tenan the list nervous like so sort of, and so that's a bit, there's a bit missing in the commentary where it says that from Jay's commentary where it says I will sort of in engaging with virtue, remembering all of those things, I will engage in virtue without having this kind of sense of kind of nervousness or inability to do it, and as it says in the root text, to kind of rise up to the challenge of engaging in virtue. And so this one, gosh, that's a chigladu. No, let's go. Can't think of it. And so, yeah, so this is connected with the last line of verse 75, where it says, and then joyfully rise to the task. So we should remember all those pieces of advice, have that kind of feeling, have that kind of faith and feeling, and rise to the task of joyfully engaging in virtue. And so we should have a kind of, so this is a kind of encouragement for us, to give us a kind of sort of strength and encouragement to take on, to take on, to engage in virtue and to avoid engaging in negativity. Normally if we don't bring out some kind of highlight, something really unique things, something very particularly helpful thing happening in your life, and then somebody comes to you and asks you, you are saying your parents or your teacher very grateful, and then can you tell me in a very short sentence why they are grateful to you? And then you will go through kind of something very blank. Like, this happened to me. That's what I'm trying to give you the tip. So one time, study Buddhism asked me a question, saying that one of the main teacher is His Holiness Dalai Lama. So if there are so many things that you might say he's so kind, but just can you give me one reason, one particular reason that you can say due to this he's so kind to me? Then I would just go like just thinking a lot, but it didn't came out like this. So now the sign of that is, of course, that doesn't mean that my mind is fully empty. But we are not trying to bring out something in our life that is so important, that makes my teacher so good. This makes my religion very important. This makes my country very important. This makes my parents very important. If we don't do this sort of connecting, and then automatically somebody comes to you a question, then you're not ready for it. But if you have kind of like a question which is prepared for you and they give you in advance, then you will think a lot and do a lot of homework. It's more like the examination is coming and then you are ready for it. But it doesn't mean it's coming from your heart. Right now, what here, it's not an examination. It's more like it's just coming out from very sincerely from the depth of your heart. So now that is the reason I think we are talking here about mainly about joyous effort. And now goes back to where's the joy? That's it. When you think about your guru or you're meditating on the object of the meditation, you cannot stay focused because there's joy is not there. So that's why Shantideva, kind Shantideva is saying, in order to, when you sit down and you try to meditate, we meditate for a few minutes. And then will you do this again? I don't think so. Because why would you do this? Because it didn't help you anything. You just sat down and you just thought of something that you normally don't like it much, and you just try to adapt something, and then finished, and then you feel like, yeah, my friends are saying, my teacher is saying very important. I do it. Maybe I will do it tomorrow. But then you feel like I made a commitment. That's becoming much worse. It's more like you are forced by it. That's the problem. That's the problem. So here, the real choice effort is something. That kind of joy is, it really has to give you kind of a kick to move forward or to look for the next what we call it, next session or next episode or next, I don't know, whatever. That's a sign of you enjoyed it. Then he's in this this is a little bit about the 75. Now if you look at the 76, then it talks about the
example.
Jidalung and Drawatang, one way, Shimpe, Wangjuwa, the Shintowe Wangjude, Tedanan and Jubal.
So verse 76 of the root text reads, just as the wind blowing back and forth controls the movement of a piece of cotton, so shall I be controlled by joy, and in this way accomplish everything.
Not like this wind. 교화를 능화로 옹주와 지대 제대치는 고순리 교화 탐지를 따딩에 가상 아주 대지기 뭐만做不起 뒤로 같이 뒤 따딩도 간다.
So there's a very important piece that this is why I wanted to go to these verses, because there's a very important piece that's coming up that I wanted to cover, which is in Gyaltsab Je's commentary at the end of the chapter. So I want to read that and go into a bit more detail.
티야당 라페오 지난이 이 제서로 비치기 저와 한다 두주 tun주기 와데 요지 어디에 마을에네 에네 전도나 참반야 바샤바네 세디 디 디지마시아 와
Kadu.
저토 지들봉세들 마도
Aleor.
비르와
Dindin.
어디 라스원 티야 라스원 라마스원 티야디 단다
Ikusumba.
제서로 비치기 저와 디어와 티야라 오케이 어디게나 단다 지들 뽕기 저와당 원외 신규 공주와 세디 치제들아서 어디 와들 인진 숨 시치도네 전도나 전반에 샤레 세지도에 오케이 어디리 되네 라펠 주를 참 주신디고
Ole Raphael do.
오케이 디 라제 스타드
It's very good advice.
This advice to the tree tower isn't not much explanation is there, but then Jesar which made a very specific advice on this. So I think this is really serious advice for us. So that's what I'm reading this. Can I launch and then you
Long Roshina.
지들제 다디 빼된데 그런 줄 고도를 다치단 도 잡아내 버샤발레스 봐 묘모 남지 시직니 묘모 남지 시직니 레로 인데 강라유 레로 인데 강라유 강라 레로 지여바 텔레 추긴 매바 인스 다디 레로 레로 니미디 손
So the first bit reads, it's a quotation from the Sutra of Close Placement of Mindfulness, which reads, the one basis...
Scary. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the one basis for the afflictions is laziness. Who has it? Wherever one laziness exists, there all dharmas become non-existent. And that's the quote, which is from the Sutra of Close Placement of Mindfulness, which is, I think before you understand the example, the meaning in the example of the two verses quite well, but this explanation presents the sort of faulty aspects of laziness.
Now this should do the trick. On this.
For it.
Okay. 시간상가다 레로 고비스 준주 개발의 배고데스 금생 그저디체 금생 가서나 준주지 대한 준주지 개견 세바다 대한 준주지 개견 세바 준주지 개견 세조 전배들 레로도 체 개견 세바다 튕긴 돕시를 배고 소스도 다 돕시리 그사님만 아주 치자버나 신치지 이게 나로를 단다 디 다가랑기 슈퍼파시 증년들이야 아니 매배 돕 템배 돕 가베 돕 토르베 돕스 돕디 돕디 조고스 다들 백 내가 친구로 봐 대장한테 네가 좀 지신님만 주자 저 슈모체 돕시디 아주 배배치고 그래서 얘는 개개인이 give it to news of Tonya Minjuba. Tadi lelo. Jubata. Dagi Kalani Nyamdu Shumba was study Dini data, Majugi, Lelo Nanan Dernuta, Jumanjuba the Tirita. Tanyan did you lost
it. And so then the commentary below that in Jay's commentary reads, so one should strive in generating enthusiasm that stops laziness. And so the proposition there is that it's the joyous effort which counteracts the laziness, and then it reads to this end one needs to make an effort to clear away the opposing factors of enthusiasm, which is the laziness itself, and to generate the conducive conditions of the four powers. And so the four powers were what we mentioned before. I think it's in verses around 31 previously in the chapter. So that's exactly what these four powers refer to: the power of aspiration, the power of steadfastness, because it may be top, then be top, and then be top, the power of aspiration, the power of steadfastness, the power of joy, and the power of temporarily sort of putting aside or relinquishing in order to rest. So those, so that's exactly as was described earlier in the chapter. And then it reads, the opposing factors are the opposing factors being the laziness. Through seeing that one is able to engage in a virtuous action, one does not do so. And so this is these are talking about one thinks, how could I be able to do this? So this is one form of laziness, and probably the primary way in which which prevents us from engaging in or starting out on or engaging in Dharma practice. Yeah. So this starts from if you're interested to look at these four powers or four forces, or sometimes they're also called the pungshi. So they also use this word pungshi, which means the four kind of armies or four kind of massed armies, and that begins on around verse 33 of this chapter, of the chapter on joyous effort, if you're interested to read more. No. So there actually, it doesn't make it very clear in the translation of the commentary, but there are two essentially primary things which stop us. One is the two kind of conflicting causes which stop us from engaging in virtue. So one is that we see that we're able, we see that we have the potential or ability to practice the Dharma, but we don't engage in it. And the second one is that we have this kind of discouragement that feels that how could I actually how could I do that? So there's two separate kinds of unconducive condition, and then the commentary goes on to describe the antidote of each.
Give Chavati, Chewa, some dead, Mazuche, Chelon Yores, and then a Chavaniambala Chavi Sigi number, Citizen Betatri. The Cho di Shabaji Cho, Mingivi Lord Choni, and Mingivi Lord Telakazu, go come the Batigi, Nargi, give Cho, somebody must signal.
Mi gave it all, they gave it all the signal. So then the commentary it really goes very thoroughly through each one. So then it so taking the first of those two sort of primary things which prevent us from starting and engaging our Dharma practice, which is the Jay says there are two sort of aspects to that, of that form of kind of laziness. One is that we feel that we actually have time, that time is with us, and so we kind of tend to procrastinate and put things off into the future. So this is that very so these are things that is very common for most practitioners, and also to encourage us not to just think of Gyaltsab Je as just presenting these things to us, but really look inside of ourselves, and to see, to identify them within inside of ourselves and try to work with them. And it would be a very profound thing if we could kind of contemplate in this way every day. And so it talks about so this way of procrastination, of putting things off and thinking, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day. Think always that sense in which we feel that we have time for, I'll practice, but I won't do it today. And the second one is is having attachment to because of negative kind of activities, or because of kind of destructive or negative activities.
Destruction is better.
Destructive activities. Okay.
Destruction, Maria.
Disrupt.
No. Diruba. Naming said.
Are they destructive?
Destructive? Where?
Namying.
Naming.
So actually more in the sense of being having distraction away. So being distracted away to kind of non-positive activities, and then it's so what happens is that draws us into the kind of that attachment draws us into the kind of negative side of things, and that attachment being drawn into negative kind of ways of acting then defeats or overpowers or outshines the kind of our ability to engage in positive ways and behaviors.
Now, this is really important for most of us, because I do have this habit of looking in the phone. If there's some notification coming up, I look, and then I somehow, I don't know, from this news, maybe like CNN or BBC notification. Okay.
Yeah.
Notification comes up, and then I looked at it, and then I have no idea how I come on a YouTube. And then on the YouTube, you just go like scrolling on these reels. I looked at it and then the laugh, and actually I was on my seat or the cushion where I need to do my commitments. And then I thought, like, let me watch few, and it goes on. Then doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 many times, ultimately what it really happens is unless you don't do it, then you feel like there's something missing. Not thinking this is really important. If you ask me, YouTube is important. If you ask me this news and everything is important, no. But somehow, even you don't say it, what feeling is there? But whatever you feel this is so important inside, it doesn't mean you need to say it loudly from your mouth. So it becomes kind of so much influence in your life. I have a friend who is mostly spending time on his phone. It is not only him, I'm also there for him. But he can complain his friends, like they are spending lots of time on and I can see he's the one of that. And I am also here with this party. So, but all of us, something in common, we will say, oh, the phone, so much bad influence on us. Now here, the answer is already there. Maybe like, Shantideva pen a lot of word.
Because of the Chitong Sumjero, she do.
1,200 years ago, this great master has already said this. He didn't put that on YouTube, but he's there. It's laying silky number. How do you say that?
To be overcome by, or to be for one thing to outshine another, to overcome another.
So that's why we really need to see, like one of my friend, a great translator, one time he said, in one of his talk, he said, until like 10 o'clock in the morning, my phones are switched off and the phones are not near me. I'm fully occupied. Whatever I need to do, the practices or so on. Then after 10 o'clock, I will check my emails. Not before that. That's really good one. But then it is also necessary, not only just keeping the phone away, but during the meditation or the retreat, long retreat, okay? Like really
Authentic
retreat. And then no cell phone, no computer. You cannot say I'm taking my computer in the retreat. That's like, what's going on? I hope nobody does that. And then we're there. Your mind, body, and memories. Now this is the good time. The memory more you are used to, what you have really enjoyed, good or bad. That time it will come. That time it has its all powers.
Oh yeah, ability to overpower.
It has the ability to overpower our concentration, or where you want it to be straight, so focused. That will be number one distraction. For that, time to time, we need to meditate on impermanence. That's in the Lamrim, in the old studies, not only the Buddhists, even non-Buddhists, the Indian, the non-Buddhist Indian traditions, they have this practice also. So the impermanent meditating on impermanence helps you to reduce this first two, the force. The first one is
Yeah, so the two of having believing that we have time and kind of procrastinating and putting things off, and the second one of actually in the text it actually says Chawalan, so being overcome by being overpowered by or overcome by the attachment to a kind of unconstructive activities.
Now here Geshe Rinpoche is trying to in this commentary he's trying to make it very short for us. But already Shantideva has already taught there. But as when we study, then we as in the university or wherever now these days, a good teacher or good student, they always need some kind of a first kind of a kasati.
Summarize
first summary
of the content,
and then the main parts of that main part, and then also conclusion.
It's like a preface, isn't it?
So here Geshe Rinpoche is trying to make this very
Concise.
Very official one, karate. Very easy to understand. So he's saying in all this chapter what Shantideva has focused on to bring choice effort. So now when we are start saying, wish I have a choice effort, but we never go on these details. There's no joy because we enjoy something else.
And the joy is just
Then there's no effort because we are not enjoying. That's it. That 제장다 디 도비 체도 미다고 섬당 거. 테네 니베 년보를 담배 취디 디치 디 실거와 타입이 묘인 바탕 살바 디치 디가로디
대체한디 담보 있는 것
담배 취디사 실거와 타입이 실사 치수스고 거와 타입의 묘인 바탕 대매베사 jelje마와 속에 남인 dir 전부 냐바차바다 치문 동네 토마케비 내수 섬네 뽕보스 다디 가래 시기는 나들이
좋아 담보 데카레 메타보 공에 맞도데
담보 데이터 아주 치와도 지지세도 좀 미다보 검단데
right.
미다보 체 당이 지기 베나다니에 동네 용안소도 좀 그런 그 믹스기 그 겨왕아치를 이지메 dinheiro 거기 계셔서 요 말봐 디체 다테네.
So then I'll just read it quickly then. So then in terms of the first one, this one of thinking you have time, then essentially, as I've just been talking about, the essential thing is to meditate on things like impermanence and death, particularly impermanence, and to understand that we don't have so much time. The second one, in terms of the antidote to the second one, then the text reads, the antidote to the second is to reflect on how the Holy Dharma is the cause for infinite joys in this and future lives, and that the distractions of meaningless talk and so forth harm the great purpose of this life and are the source for many sufferings in the future. So that's the antidote to the second one, the one of attachment, being overcome by detachment to negative activities. And in relation to the first one about and it also does talk in the text about things like falling into the lower realms and things like that. But of course, for those who don't, who are not really sort of accustomed to the ideas of past and future lives and the existence of things like lower realms and the hell realms, then this is not so useful. But still, to understand the idea of impermanence.
Is not useful unless the person does not believe in the continuity of the consciousness. And then person who believes in the continuity of the consciousness, then this really helps. Teacher. Nibi nyambu tati was one. Chimolo dunyo too much of it never saw upon was. Now in this first two, the second one, I will repeat it again because this is one of the most danger that how we cannot bring choice effort towards our practice. And in the West, in the East, everywhere, they will always say, the question is like always, how to practice Dharma in a busy, normal life? This question comes. This question is designed, especially people who does not want to study very much. Because they say busy. They say we don't have a time. And we want to practice. And we need a very short, very easy. First of all, here in says, it is, we cannot love two different things at one time. Same time. Like first, like drugs. If you are so addicted towards drug, and you believe this is really harming you, and then you are with some kind of I don't know, went to a kind of a person whom you think that he can help you to the drug
To give up.
To get advice or to get help from that person. So then person will give you so many information or advice how this is so bad for you. And then you will listen to it. And you will say yes. It's good. But then still deep inside, you are not ready to give up. Unless you really don't want to give this up. And then how many times you listen to from this person's help? Once you get out from from his house, immediately you will go to the same place where you feel home, in which you have all this stuff everywhere. You will take it without no question. Similarly, we shouldn't ask people of Dharma or practice. You want a practice in a normal busy life, what do you think you are really enjoying? And that this practice has to make what you are enjoying give you more joy. As one time Buddha said, I'm not here to make the samsara perfect. I want you to get rid out from the samsara, because samsara is not perfect. But many people want Dharma to make their samsara life perfect. So similarly here, like this, so it is very necessary for the practitioners to understand what they are asking for. They really need to know that taking this kind of practice, how to get rid of this, how can I take this into office? How can I take this with my family? So Buddha said, best happiness is happiness without attachment. That's what he said. So for that reason, we really need to ask this kind of question. How can I enjoy even there's no attachment? We shouldn't ask something like, I'm really enjoying this, how I can be perfect with this. So maybe you're asking some kind of wrong question. And then if you can do it, then the great master Marpa himself said, and also Buddha has said several times, saying, even householders can get the fully the liberation. It doesn't mean that if you have a wife, kids, and then there's no place for you to get liberation. Yes, still you can.
Yeah.
So this is what I think we really need to keep in our mind.
So read on.
che member nang ji jang sanje toba sungbe dagi zombo ma dang ji chiru meto nyam samo sa.
Shall I read it? Yeah. So then it reads, with regards to discouragement, the discouragement which is talked of, there are again three kinds: thinking I cannot attain the infinite qualities of a Buddha, thinking I cannot accomplish the infinite difficult actions such as offering one's own arms, legs, and so forth, and thinking I cannot bear the sufferings of the infinite births in cyclic existence that I would have to take. The antidote against the first, which is thinking you can't achieve the qualities of the Buddha, is to think also the Buddhas had not yet completed the path from the start, but in the beginning they were just as myself. Then they evolved and became Buddhas. Since the Buddha taught that even beings much lower than me can attain enlightenment, then why should I not attain enlightenment as long as I do not stop practicing?
Now this whole part, let's make it short. Bodhisattvas as we are talking about Bodhisattva's way of life. So Bodhisattvas have a special pride, positive pride. They're saying, I have competed with many different sentient beings already now. I give up this. I don't want to compete with them. Because with competing with them, automatically negative emotions arises. So I don't want to compete with them. Now, from now on, my competition is with the Buddha. Because if I compete with him, I always get some kind of improvement in our life. Similarly, he's saying, if Buddha can do it, I can do it. It's not like my neighbor has done it, I'm going to do it. He has to do it, I have done it 1,000 times. Stop it. Now it's more like he's doing it. So if you are brave enough, if you want to compete with the Dalai Lama. With respect, huh? Like His Holiness said, many years I've been practicing, studying. Now I have this visualization. He's saying this many times now. So he came as a kind of ordinary form. Now he's really giving you this, like, I've done this, now attachment is not coming, and I feel so much peace, so much love, so much energy. That's what he's saying. It's a kind of sign saying, wake up, make a competition with me now. So same here, what's in the commentary, it says, Tembejan Dadinima Loshinda. Tembejan Dali Che member Namjan Sanji Tober Sungbe, Dagi Joma Madan, Jishimidon Samo. Nimbi Lula Soba Donald Chaba the Chaco Tati Dirisha Shindukavi Tachi Chawadu Chetu Samarisamna, and you Lula Soma Toman Chava Kavis and Dushi Kiwi Rin Midangla, so Tombe Che Chama so Terwadan Drawer.
So then the second one, which is the second of those three discouragements, is thinking that you can't perform all these kind of difficult actions, such as offering our own bodies. Then it says the antidote to this one is to think, as long as it appears difficult for me to give up arms, legs, and so forth, this is not the right time to do so. Only when I can give them up as easily as a vegetable, then it is the right time to do so.
It's funny, isn't it? So vegetable. This is vegetable. So here, this is a one great teaching. Up to now, if we believe, still we have to now believe here, the continuation of the
Conscious.
So then, not only in this life, many lifetimes, look at the Discovery Channel. So many times we have given our lives. Whether you wanted to or want or not wanted to, it's taken, killed by the predators. Even just born, few minutes, somebody will come and chase. This is the way of survival, right? We have given several our body and everything many times, and in the future, of course, many times will happen. So now Bodhisattva's way of thinking is very creative, very great. Saying, I have to give, whether I like to give it or not. But now I will set up this mind. If somebody will take this, from now on, I will give this to them. For an example, this, and this, all the things I have. I go somewhere. And then someone come to know that I'm not here, nobody's here. He will come, take my things away, and I'll come back. I will be so upset if my mind wasn't ready for this. If I'm ready, like whoever take it, may he use it very well. But then comes that little bit pain is there, but not that strong. Maybe he's using. Maybe you will see a neighbor is using your phone or your tablet or whatever. You will just feel like this will come out if your mind is so strong. I'm not saying what they are doing is right, but I'm trying to say here, the mind here is becoming such a huge, stronger. And one of the best, even you'll never come to know that you have recognized, you have come to know that I know that I'm doing wrong in front of him, but then he might ask you a question. This is just like a theory, okay? Like I realize that you come to know that I'm using your tablet and you haven't said a single word. Why? Very simple. You're enjoying it. Similarly, look at the tails of the Buddha. The Jataka tales is full of this. So this is what Shantideva was saying. It's not a vegetable. Like vegetable, you don't have like a my vegetable. Go to the grocery. Once you paid, then once you feel like it's mine, and then you have put it in your small bag, and somebody grabs it by accidentally, you say, "This is mine." That it's not a vegetable anymore. It's my vegetable. It's more important. Even it's a little bit rotten, it's more important. So Bodhisattva's behavior is different. Yeah. He will be more like, take it. I chose best one. Here, take it. So similarly, this is saying it's not hard. Keeping the body, mind, it's not hard. But once you make your mind not narrow. So this is all talking about how to reduce this self-cherishing. Once you cherish others, you will like it maybe 100 times happier. Then not like our way of thinking, just thinking as this is a vegetable. Who thinks like this is a vegetable only, without attachment, just enjoying it? This is to the arhats. But Bodhisattvas put more on this. You start enjoying it, he's much more. So this part now, we don't need to read whole thing. I'm saying not now, it's important to complete it, but for you all, once you go back, and it's quite important to complete it. So that's why I wanted to share this with you. And then in our next session, we will start with this joy, with this kind of feeling. how can we maintain this? Buying an expensive thing is easy when you have money, but it is much more difficult when it comes to how to maintain it. So now, how to maintain it, it takes another level of effort, another level of joy. So now then we need to talk about meditation. So many people ask meditation without any kind of information. I want meditation. But here, Shantideva didn't, up to now, he didn't talk about any kind of meditation. He came with a kind of saying, this is so good, this is so bad, this is better, this is the best. And now he said, you want to maintain this, no meditation. So in our next class, let's talk about how to maintain it so that it will be meditation. Okay, let's stop here today. You? Hello?
Having thoroughly investigated and accord with all that I've heard day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment settle all doubts. In a land encircled by snow mountains, you're the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chandras in Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the Hira Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. Jisi Nanka did, Jisi Nanka did, Jisi Nanka never done, draw, Jisi Nehua, Jisi Dani Nehua, draw, so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Grazie Rinpoche.
Grazie maestro.
Grazie, grazie.